American system have this whole thing called GT. I guess it's gifted and talented program that they put the kids. So instead of being in that grade, the child is in 4th grade, something like that. So they would come home with a lot of homework with no explanation, like they were taught in class. Now they have to do the homework. And I am here sitting at home trying to do my own homework. And now I have to stop and help them. And I could not figure out. And it sounds silly because it's grade 2, grade 3 homework. But some of the things I couldn't even figure out how to do them.
Like the long math.
Yes, exactly. Like the math.
You knew how to do log tables.
But that math is bad. You know, I've seen parents struggle.
Yes.
Because our math as we were taught and the math as they are expected to do
it's taught in a different way.
It's a totally different
It's
thing.
very different.
And
Even
kids
the
are set back with the
Yeah.
math. In fact, the homework is sometimes, my niece was complaining that the teacher tore up her stuff and the mom had to basically go to school and
Yes.
confront the teacher.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
even the mom who was taught here in American system knew the old way of doing math and was trying to do it that way. And then they're told, okay, do it the long way and show me how you get
show me
to
how you
where
got
you're
to the
going.
answer.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, this is the answer. And so it brought a whole, lot of confusion.
Because for us, if you live in Kenya, I've never had my mother sit down with me to even review my homework.
Your
No,
homework
that's
packet,
true.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
They
Mother-
have it
Mother
packaged.
or father.
I think
yes.
only to teach us tables. To have you memorize.
no,
Yeah.
At least that was my
right.
experience.
Yeah.
And
Just the tables.
right, and the
Even
grades
tables.
are accumulative. You if you miss a step, the child can actually fail,
Can fail.
and
Yeah.
then you have a conference. And then, can you imagine as a parent going to a conference when your child is failing?
Both of you have failed.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you failed.
Yeah, both of you have failed. Yeah, you didn't show up for
Then
your child.
you can imagine huyu mwalimu ni keraje. Niki.
It was interesting. And by the way, a lot of children fail until a lot of African parents realize, wait, I need to be part of this. I'm a student.
I
I'm a
have to
student.
show up at school.
I am a student.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
let's go to the US schooling system,
Okay.
which is one of the big elephants in the room that new African parents must deal with when they're here and they're confronted by the schooling system, which is entirely different from the systems that we have back in Kenya and back in other African countries. Now, let's go back to maybe the 15, 20 years ago, when now you're at the point our kids are going to school. What were some of the things that shocked or confused you when you got to contact with the American education system? Let me start with you, Nginda.
A lot. I want to say, especially when, in elementary school, at least for me, when we were going to grade 1, grade 2, we never had any homework. I don't ever recall having a lot of homework. It was mostly like, little pictures, and then you're told, actually, I don't even remember. Thank you. So what struck me was the sheer amount of homework that Kihanya and Rehema would come home with. And then as they progressed, so the American system have this whole thing called GT. I guess it's gifted and talented program that they put the kids. So instead of being in that grade, the child is in 4th grade, something like that. So they would come home with a lot of homework with no explanation, like they were taught in class. Now they have to do the homework. And I am here sitting at home trying to do my own homework. And now I have to stop and help them. And I could not figure out. And it sounds silly because it's grade 2, grade 3 homework. But some of the things I couldn't even figure out how to do them.
Like the long math.
Yes, exactly. Like the math.
You knew how to do log tables.
But that math is bad. I've seen parents struggle.
Yes.
Because our math as we were taught and the math as they are expected to do
It's
it.
taught in a different
It's a
way.
totally different
Yeah.
thing.
It's very different.
And
Even
kids
the
are set back with
Yeah.
the math. In fact, the homework is sometimes, my niece was complaining that the teacher tore up her stuff, and the mom had to basically go to school and
Yes.
confront the teacher.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
even the mom, who was taught here in American system, knew the old way of doing math and was trying to do it that way. And then they're told, okay, do it the long way and show me how you get
show me
to
how you
where
got
you're
to the
going.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, this is the answer. And so it brought a whole, lot of confusion.
Okay. All right.
It can be very confusing. Even English, like their homework would be like, what is the long vowel? I don't know. I don't know what that is. So it took me and Gofu just learning, like literally buying a book for grade 4. I remember going to Barnes and Noble and buying the book and literally acting like I'm the teacher so I can be able to teach my kids. They
wow.
don't know that. They never knew what I
Wow.
was doing. But and like they would say, but you guys speak English, why are you not able to help me? It was never about the English. It's the American system.
It was just very different.
Wow.
Very, very
the philosophy
different.
was
That
very
is
different.
something
Yes.
new for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Baba Rehema, was the experience the same for you, or what is it that shocked you when you got in contact with this American schooling system?
Wow. Accountability. The American
interesting.
system is very systematic.
Mm-hmm.
You are accountable.
Mm-hmm.
As a parent, you are actually part of this class. I remember initially, you know how, as she said, we didn't care about homework.
Yeah.
So you
We cared,
No,
but we didn't know.
We didn't know
Yeah.
about homework
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah.
And
We
you
would just copy. Some of
then-
us will just copy.
then you realize your child is failing because homework is part of the
The
bigger
class.
picture.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
package.
Overall,
Yeah.
yes.
Right, and then the child is also the child is taught in school how to be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
They are challenging you.
Mm-hmm.
They know their rights, and the kid is telling you things, and you are like wowed. But as they get to
Older,
in the system of
Yes.
school, they are very outspoken. They have a lot of things they know, and I think for me, one of the things that really shocked me is the fact that a child can fail because the parent is not participating in the
Yeah.
child's academia.
Okay, so basically,
Because for us,
Yeah.
if you look in Kenya, I've never had my mother sit down with me to even review my homework.
Your
No,
homework
that's
true.
packet,
Understand?
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
They
Mother,
have it packed.
mother
Yeah.
or father.
I think
yes.
only to teach us tables. Ama to have you memorize.
no,
Yeah.
At least that was my
Right.
experience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Just the tables.
right, and the
even
grades
tables.
are accumulative. You know, if you miss a step, the child can actually fail,
Can fail.
and
Yeah.
then you have a conference. And then, can you imagine as a parent going to a conference when your child is failing?
Both of you have failed.
Right.
Yeah.
so it's like you failed.
Yeah, both of you have failed.
failure.
Yeah.
Then-
You
then
didn't show up for
Then
your child.
you can imagine in Kikuyu. Oyo mwalimu ni keraje. Iki niki.
It was interesting. And by the way, a lot of children fail until a lot of African parents realize, wait, I need to be part of this. I'm a student.
I
I'm
have
a
to
student.
show up at
I
school.
am a student.
Yes.
You have to
Literally.
advocate for your child's
advocate.
education. You have to engage
there.
with
You
the
have to
teachers.
be- yeah.
You have to attend school meetings. You have to support their academic
PTA,
goals.
the PTA.
Find out what is the goal for this term.
Right.
Marking period. They call them the marking period. What is the goal for this marking period? Do all these things and realize that like you have to be fully involved.
I think that's one area where, especially
What?
African parents who are thrown into this system without knowing, is something they really need to be schooled on. That you have to be hands on
Yes.
in the school, in the schooling system.
Yes.
That's one thing that I think there's still a lack of awareness by some Kenyan parents, and I think this is something that needs to be drilled because now we have a lot of experience. We have people who've raised their kids here, that have graduated high school, they're in college now, so there's a lot of experience. I can imagine at that time when there was no experience, the only experience that you have is what you did when you were back home, and you don't know what you don't know. If you're out there doing double shifts, you don't know that someone needs to be out there for
Yes.
school meetings.
Yes.
Someone needs to be in contact with a
With a
teacher.
teacher.
Yeah. Someone needs to be, like there are so many things that you have to do together
Yeah.
with your student. And I think that's kind of what they've been trying to replicate in Kenya in a very terrible way
the new
because
system.
because Kenya has different
Priorities
realities
and learning ways.
you have parents who are not literate.
Yeah.
You have parents who cannot understand. So I think it's very problematic in Kenya, but I think out here in America, I mean, it's tough also for parents who like who are low income and working 2-3 jobs. It's not an easy thing to do, but it will have an impact on the performance of your child. However smart your child is, if you do not participate, it will have an impact. The other interesting thing that also was brought up by Rehema and Jide is people being placed in ESOL classes. And these are classes, for those who don't know what ESOL is, these are classes for people who are they're learning English as a foreign language.
Yes.
Yeah. So, some Kenyan parents, because they're not aware of what's happening, when they fill in those forms, they feel English as the second or maybe even the third language.
Yes.
Then automatically, a child who's very fluent in English
is
placed in ESOL.
Yes.
006.
So I think that's also an issue that...
At 006.
yeah.
That's the community code, 006.
Yeah.
But that's why you have to be truly involved. That's why you have to go to the school, show your presence, walk through that door of, I was going to say my daughter's school, but I won't. So walk through that door of St. James Academy. Let them know that Rehema, Zoe, Kehanya have a parent who is present,
And
who
cares.
is caring, who is involved.
Advocate.
Don't let your child sit there and always look like they don't have a parent. No, you're there. God has given you that child. Be present for that child. I'm a firm believer that if there's a parent meeting, trust me, I'm going to be there. If there's a party where parents are welcome, I'm going to be there. Halloween, which is something I'm not really sure what we celebrate, but my daughter loves Halloween. I go for her parades. I take photos. I'm engaged in the class. You would think I was truly an American, born here with the Halloween thing. But why do I do these things? Because I want my child to know that my mom and my dad, they're very involved. I want that teacher, when she's calling Zoe, to remember that I know Zoe's mom. And I know she's going to come here if I'm doing something wrong to her daughter. Not that she is, but that's important.
But it does
you have to be involved.
It does happen.
Yeah.
One thing I want to add also is that the teachers are very observant.
Yes.
If your child, let's say you forget lunch for your child.
Yeah.
You pack your lunch or they can buy it.
Yeah.
Or your child maybe have a little scratch. They could be in a fall. What happened is they start thinking maybe the home dynamics,
the home environment,
are not okay.
Yeah.
So
there's an abusive parent.
Right, those are things in Africa. Nobody,
yeah.
Yeah. You go down there, you fall on top of a tree, and you go to school.
Wajakehe or
Right.
whatever.
There you go.
Yeah,
Here, a small thing can lead to a conference.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about maybe taking the child away.
Yeah. Child
A child
protective
can
services.
say something to a teacher. My dad
Hit me.
hit me. That now is an event.
And that becomes an event.
So for
becomes
parents,
an issue.
especially when you are new here, watch what you tell your child, because the small things we say or do can lead to a big thing, and maybe you don't even mean it. It's our culture. As my wife just said, we have to be our children advocate, especially new parents who just came here. Their kids have an accent. Unless you want a green card, and you are here now, that's another level of. There are kids from African parents who are born here. Those are American kids.
Yeah.
But we have other kids
who come like in middle
here,
school.
Right. Imagine you are 12 from Kenya or any other African country, and you have an accent. Now you are put in the
And a funny name.
Right.
Yes.
And now
the name
you are thrown in the
bottom of the barrel.
Right.
So
on
bullying
top
happens.
of other African Kenyan kids. Now you are on a lower level because you're compromised. You have an accent. You are new.
Wow.
You are new. So in fact, those are the kids that get bullied.
Bullied the most.
And they need more. Parents need to be more involved. Unfortunately, the parents are also new. They don't know.
They don't know what they don't know.
So you can only imagine those dynamics.
Wow.
Right.
You guys bring up an interesting thing. So was there kind of like a I was gonna say an immigrants association, like amongst the parents. The parents form an informal group where they kind of like kept
for
with each other.
babysitting, yes.
Because
Yeah.
I noticed that when I went for my nephew's, what is it? Is it fifth grade? That when they're gonna go to fifth grade? Is that the next
Yeah, yeah.
elementary, right?
No,
It's
fifth is
graduation.
middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After
yeah,
fifth,
so
then
they're
you go
going
to
now.
middle school.
They're going
Right.
to
To
middle
middle
school,
school,
right?
yeah.
Right.
So I noticed the parents, the Kenyan parents who had kids in that school. It's like they had their own WhatsApp group, and they were gonna have like a ceremony or a party the next day at the park or something like. But they kept tabs with each other, and it's almost like they kept themselves accountable. They had their own little group. So did you guys have
No,
that
we-
type
we
of
know
experience,
what's up.
or? Well, yeah, I know, but was there some
I
informal?
mean, I have to say, we used to take our children to a centralized babysitting place.
Yes.
Mama
yes.
Mogo.
Mama Mogo, shout out to Mama Mogo. So we would be able to
Yeah.
meet there when we were picking our kids,
Yeah.
talk. That was like our
Compare
meeting,
notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
meeting point.
I honestly think diaspora groups we need to advance. We've been here for so many years.
Correct. Yes.
You know, and some of the issues that are discussed in diaspora groups are still at that level.
Infantile.
Are still at that infantile level. So
Yeah.
there needs to be an advancement whereby, like, is there a new parent? Let's create, like a
Right.
checklist for
Right,
them.
Yeah,
that's
a cheat
very
sheet.
important.
Yeah, a cheat sheet for
Yes,
them,
yeah.
because now there's a lot of people who've
This
gone
is
through
how you
these
turn on.
experiences.
This is how you get your utilities.
Yes.
This is how
Right.
you. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
it's crucial
Yeah,
because
that's
if
what
you
it is.
don't
It's-
have
it's
that
very
support
critical.
system,
It's very
man.
critical because you don't know what you don't know. When a child comes home and tells you that I'm being bullied, when you're a
Then
new parent
wh-
here,
then
What
what?
does that mean?
it doesn't make sense to you.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, they're like, even me, I was bullied.
It doesn't.
Alafu?
It doesn't make sense to you.
Monolization.
Yes.
Monolization,
Yeah,
guys.
like I was also
Yeah.
monolized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense to you. So I think there needs to be like a chaperone for these people who are new parents, like who either did not go through the American schooling system or they're just fresh here, because we still have them and there's still a repetition of the same mistakes. We are seeing, that there's a lot of our kids who are doing well, but there's also a lot of our kids who have also gone wayward.
And the lost.
Yeah, who are lost. Who we've seen some of them, like
The
be
results,
arrested
yeah.
and gone to jail.
Yeah.
We've seen them. We've seen how easy it is for them to get lost in the system. And it's not that the parents are bad, but it's not that the parents don't care. It's just that there were certain things that were basic, but they did not know what they were looking for or what they were not looking for. So I think that is a very important aspect, like beyond just meeting for pre-weddings.
But you see sometimes-
and
Because of course,
Ali,
Yeah.
you have
but
to bring
but
the
he
wedding
has to go there. But it's okay.
no, sure you guys are paying attention.
No, it's okay.
But you know,
That's
yes,
a
we
good
could
one.
do this as Kenyans, but
Yeah.
we can also appreciate and embrace what America has to offer people here. So just because, our culture, Kenyan culture, Nigerian culture, all we do as parents is push education.
Yes.
I want you to go. I want you to get A's. I want you to go to these colleges. I want you to do all these things. And in between, we fail to understand that education is important and education is crucial for our growth. However, education is not all about books. Growth is not only academic. We have to encourage hobbies like sports or any other activities that the kids might enjoy, whether that might be dancing, whether just be supportive of their passions.
But surely,
So
dancing
these
in a
new-
Kenyan house.
So yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Ah,
and
you
this
see
is
that
my
there?
challenge.
There it is.
You
Yeah.
see,
Yeah. There it
this is
is.
my challenge to immigrant parents from all walks of life. I always say, let your child want to dance, put her in a dance group 2 days a week. You're gonna go meet other parents there. Talk to those parents. That way you're not just thinking like a Kenyan. Open up your view, your world view. Let it not just be a Kenyan view, because you're no longer in Kenya. You live in US. So embrace what America have to offer. Some of these things might be expensive, like soccer. We've been soccer parents for 20 something years.
Yeah.
But then there's also the rec, which could be cheaper option. there are plays that are offered by different schools. If your child like theater, even if it's a boy, for those parents that feel like, oh, my child is not going to be a dancer because he's a boy, let him dance. He might actually escape depression because he's dancing. And that's okay. Embrace all these other activities out
Repeat that
there.
again, please. Repeat that again.
What I'm
Repeat
saying.
No, repeat. That's a very profound statement.
I'm very passionate when it comes to kids, and I always say let the child do what they want to do. So if you have a son, and your son tells you that I want to go and dance, I want to be a dancer, don't be that Kenyan father saying, dancing where? In my house? No.
Why are you pointing
know
at Lawrence though?
I'm just saying, you're the man here. I'm saying, buy him that mic, empower him and say, you know what, Jason, go dance. Because maybe by dancing, he's going to release the tension and all the other feelings he might be feeling and not get depressed.
Okay, all right.
Mental health. She
Yes.
brings up a very good point
Yes.
because a lot of these kids of immigrant parents are caught in, I think, I'll say 2 worlds, but it's almost like 3 worlds.
Mm-hmm.
There's the world of reality where they are.
Yes.
Then there's the world of how everybody sees them in terms of their peers. And then there's the way their parents see them.
Yeah.
Yes.
They
And
navigate to
sometimes
different
they don't
spaces.
know where to be, and it gets to a point where there's too much noise and it goes fatal attraction.
Yeah.
It goes to the other side where it should
Yeah.
never go. And we end up being called to support parents of who have a toy who's no
Yeah.
longer there.
And now,
Yeah.
now talk
You know?
about